I've never been the kind of person to believe in ghosts or anything supernatural. I like things that make sense, things I can explain. But last year, something happened to me that I still can't wrap my head around. I've gone over it 1,000 times, trying to rationalize it, but no matter how I twist it, there's no logical answer. I don't tell this story often because, honestly, I don't think people would believe me. But I know what I saw. And I know that, for a brief moment, everything I thought I understood about reality just cracked. It happened while I was driving through a small town in the middle of nowhere. I was on a road trip, taking my time, stopping wherever I felt like. This town felt different, though. The streets were empty, the air thick with that eerie stillness you only find in places that time has forgotten. Old brick buildings lined the sidewalks, their paint peeling, their windows covered in dust. Then I saw it, an antique shop on the corner. Its wooden sign was faded, the letters barely visible, but something about it made me stop. I stepped inside, and a little brass bell jingled overhead. The air smelled like old paper and wood, like a place frozen in time. It was dim, the only light coming from a few dusty bulbs hanging from the ceiling. Shelves overflowed with old books, clocks, and strange objects that looked like they belonged in a museum. The place was dead silent. No customers, no owner, just me. At the back of the shop, I noticed a large wooden board covered in old photographs. Hundreds of them, all black and white, curling at the edges, pinned haphazardly like a memorial to people long forgotten. I stepped closer, scanning the faces, smiling families, serious-looking men in suits, women in long dresses. It felt unsettling, as if I were staring straight into the past. And then I saw it. In the center of the board was a group photo of about a dozen people standing in front of an old brick building. My eyes locked onto one figure in the middle. My heart stopped. It was me. Not someone who looked like me. Me. Same face, same expression, same damn features. I felt my stomach twist as I read the date scribbled in ink at the bottom. 1924. Panic surged through me. I leaned in, trying to find some clue, something that would make this make sense. Maybe a relative? A weird coincidence? But no, this wasn't just some lookalike. The more I stared, the more uneasy I felt. Unlike the others in the photo, who were smiling or looking at the camera, I wasn't. I was staring straight ahead. Not at the camera, at me. Like I knew I would be standing there, almost a century later, looking back. A sudden noise snapped me out of it. A sharp clatter from the back of the store. My breath caught in my throat. I turned around, expecting to see someone, but the store was still empty. At least, that's what I thought at first. Then I noticed it. The heavy silence had changed. The air felt charged. And then I heard it. Breathing. Shallow, raspy breathing, coming from the shadows at the back of the shop. My pulse pounded in my ears. I stepped backward, my hands shaking. The breathing stopped. I turned back to the board, desperate to look at the photo again, but it was gone. The spot where it had been was empty, like it had never existed. My fingers ran over the wood, but there were no marks, no pins, nothing. A cold wave of fear hit me. I turned and bolted for the door. As I reached for the handle, something made me stop. The large front window reflected the dim interior of the shop, and in the glass, I saw something behind me. A shadow, just barely visible, standing where the photo had been. My blood went ice cold. I spun around, but nothing was there. I didn't think. I just ran. I shoved the door open and stumbled outside, the cool air hitting my face like a slap. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely pull my keys from my pocket. I turned back, expecting to see the shop still standing there, waiting. But something was wrong. The sign above the door, the one that had been barely legible before, was now completely blank. Just a weathered wooden board with no letters at all. I got in my car and drove. I didn't stop, didn't look back, didn't breathe properly until I was miles away. The next day, I tried searching for the shop online, looking at maps, even asking around. But it didn't exist. No records, no history, nothing. As if it had vanished the moment I left. Or maybe, it had never been there to begin with. But the worst part? Ever since that day, I've felt off. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection in a window, there's a strange delay, like for a split second, it's not really me looking back. And sometimes late at night, I wake up gasping, heart racing, because in my dreams, I see that photograph again. And every time, the people in it are just a little bit closer.